Good morning, all you vermiculturists. I'm back again today, working on growing my own food again for the probably seventh or second century in a row. Today, I'm going to show you a little bit of a different vermiculture. I don't call it vermiculture because that, I think, is more the earthworms. I know there is, mealworm farming. I'm calling that vermiculture. And what we have here are some bins that are just loaded with mites. I'm not worried about that. They don't kill me. I haven't had any problems with them. They're coming out because they're running out of water. This bin is from a disaster that I had happen. It is this is a leftover wax paper from the breeder bin where the beetles were in. And trying to work on moisture. It's just loaded in here with teeny tiny mealworms. So I'm happy about that. There's a ton of mold in here, but I'm just not seeing yet any I don't know what that's gonna do. The little mealworms that I'm trying to see here, they're still alive. So obviously we haven't killed them off. What happened was I have these two bins that I use to put the beetles in to breed, and they are plastic file cabinets, and they were really good because they were tall, plastic. The beetles didn't crawl out, but what happened was there's just no ventilation in there. So I had those sponges that I like for moisture, and it was just too much moisture, and it got, obviously, with it being shut, not enough ventilation, mold went crazy. Like I said, major disaster. So I took all that out. I seen that it did have the baby mealworms in there, so went ahead and put them in that tub. Thought, what the heck, we'll give it a shot. We'll see what happens. Now, this has been with more like the older, and so what I do, I should probably be feeding some of these mealworms to the chickens or something. I don't know, because I haven't got my calculations done. I haven't reached the level of guru calculations, but I'm picking out these. Okay, these are the pupal stage. That's got chitin. Not sure if y'all are familiar with the chitin, but supposedly back in the beginning when we were first on land, we would have ate a lot more of these insects, and their exoskeleton is chitin. So I'm collecting these little pupa up. I put them in a tub over here on the side while I'm going through these bins. So far, these mealworms are living, it seems to be just fine, even though they don't have like a real water moisture source. Here, little guy, let me see if you're dead. No, he looks like he's just getting ready to pupate or something. And now I'm picking them out of here. I have, watered them some, tried that. I've tried a lot of different things. I'm going to try those water. Okay, so I guess they're the crystals that will absorb water, and then put the crystals in there, supposedly. And these worms will get their water moisture from that. Need to look into that some more. I don't know how. My problem before in the past when I've raised these mealworms is that if I put a potato in here for them to get their moisture from, seems like potato just dries up and you got that big old piece of skin in there, and I guess that's not a problem. You just run it through your sifters on the really large, and sift out that huge stuff. And then I guess you could just put that stuff in a compost pile. Great. Okay, we can do that. So this is just one bin here. And I noticed that the pupa end up working their way up to the top mostly. And so I've got this, and you can see all the young ones, or not young ones, actually, they're my older mealworms. This is my containment system over here. I really love this system better than what I had previously. This I can just move around, and then I figured this is what I'm going to do to double my numbers. I bought another one of these shelves, and then this shelf, because they're so easy to just move around and be able to work, that I can just push this shelf, like we can stack them like next to each other back to back without a hallway. So I'm just going to have one of them sideways like this, because back in the back there is where most of all my veterinarian supplies are for all the animals that I have, doing this regenerative farming business here. And so I need a hallway back there so I don't have to pull out these shelves all the time. But I would say if you guys are really looking to go commercial on your worm farming, so far these black tubs, I like the ones from Menards the best. They seem to be the sturdiest in my opinion. And so I haven't really had them escape too much from these tubs. I've heard people say you got to wash these tubs, whatever. When you buy these shelves, it seems like this shelving system is almost perfect for the tubs to fit and slide right on. I love the ones on wheels. I would definitely spring for the ones on wheels. You really don't have to buy the most expensive. I ended up buying the commercial shelf, which holds, I want to say it's like 600 pounds per shelf. Because it was probably like a $25 difference simply because I had to buy the wheels separately. If you go with a shelf that, I hate that y'all just have to look at my head. I guess I could lower the camera somehow. But let me tell you, time is a major issue for me. And so, doing these videos, you'll, I guess, be lucky just to get my voice. I really don't want to have to cut and splice and do all that kind of stuff, because I'm telling you that is extremely time consuming for me, and my computer is slow. I can't upload from my area. The service is just not good enough here, unless I just need brand new computer system that I got something going faster now that we've reached all these wonderful 5G forces. So here's another load. So I'll go through and collect these every so often. Looks like the back side doesn't have too many. And I also noticed that underneath this platform here, this is an egg crate. I'll find a few of these, but it seems like they like to stay out to the outer edges more. And I don't know if that's because I've noticed that most of the worms will go under that egg crate. So I leave a little bit of light on in here, so I'm pretty sure they're photosensitive and they don't like the light. So I think what they'll do is these ones under here, one, they don't like cool either. And they're highly concentrated underneath here, these worms. And they're just zooming around. So I think it might push, so I only found about one in this under here, only one. I don't know if they try to leave and find a quiet spot to pupate or how that works. That would take a lot more reading. Feels like I've been through a lot of my reading years just because, you know, all the different diversity that I've wanted for myself. I've read a lot. Okay. So that looks like about the gist of what I would do in this bin. I wanted to do some more research into the water. My moisture says it's at 49% here. I know I should get my note cards because I made notes, and they do like more moisture. So that's about the gist of what I do with these mealworms. So like this tray, then there is cracked corn in here. I did give them some chicken feed, and then I don't clean it very often. Pretty much leave the chitin in here, and I pretty much leave the frass until most of all that food is. I'm turning over another bin with the really aged ones, since I'm picking those. Oh, here's the other thing what I did. This was just an experiment I had for another way to try and keep some humidity on them, was I would just take a towel, wet towel, and lay it over that. And these are cut so that they don't go all the way down into the bin, so there's a gap. But I also have the egg crate down there, so that is I also do have the pupa sifter thing from that Space Coast, I think, mealworm, which is supposed to like not let the pupa fall through, but it lets everything else fall through. And so back in the day when I first started raising these, and I was trying to do it all scientifically, working my tail off, trying to figure these mites out. I noticed with the mites, if you want to reduce your mites, you got to get rid of whatever moisture from your bedding, and they don't seem to be in there causing as much trouble that way. Not that I see a problem with them. The worms still seem to be hatching and growing, so I don't know. I guess I got to get into some of the journal articles on raising these mealworms, see what kind of science is out there and what people have found. So I did do research on this chitin and found that it's supposedly extremely healthy for your digestive system, and that we actually probably evolved eating chitin rather than plant fiber. So there's a book out there called Fiber Menace. I don't remember who technically wrote it, but see these little pupa. For me, so far I have managed to be able to eat those. Ooh, without getting really freaky, squeamish, and freaked out about it. And the only thing there is that chitin. They're juicy. I really love eating sweet corn off the cob, straight from the garden, raw. And I'm going to tell you, it is very much like that, but I'll show you in a second. You're left with the chitin, which is left from the exoskeleton, which they say is just really extremely healthy for the intestinal tract. That's the chitin that's left. I mean, it's very easy to get down. It doesn't seem to get stuck really too bad. But what I read in the book Fiber Menace, if you know a lot about like silica or sand, very, very sharp, jagged edges, and supposedly that insoluble fiber from, say, Metamucil or whatever they recommend you take to stimulate the intestinal tract, which is basically, I guess something toxic that it wouldn't want in there, and that's why it's stimulating it. And that it actually cuts the intestinal lining. And so that fiber is very unhealthy and what causes a lot of the darn gastritis, I don't know, colitis, whatever all of it is called. And that this chitin, and you can see, I mean, look at this. When they shed their, when they grow to a larger size, and this is their old skin, like a snake sheds its skin when it grows, these do the same thing. And so there's these things called instars, is like when they develop into a new level, new size, and they shed their skin and they're growing. So what happens is it's just sitting on top here. I've seen people use a vacuum cleaner to vacuum that off the top, and then they sell that chitin. And I think you can get that in health food stores. So if you're looking for a way to stimulate your intestines without destroying them, I guess. I don't know. Like I said, you'd have to read. That book is so very scientific that even I had trouble reading it. I'm like, oh my gosh. Anyway, true or not, your guess is as good as mine. Makes sense to me. I think we would have walked around. There are a lot of books out there saying that plants are very toxic. Makes sense. Again, the plants can't get up and run from the predator, so they have to devise these systems inside their juices, I guess, that can be very toxic to things that are eating them. So, piece of chitin stuck in my throat. Do some research on your chitin, and I'm going to try to ingest more chitin. I have yet to be able to eat these wiggling things. Yet. Although, I have ate them before. I'm saying I have yet to eat them raw. Like, these wiggle, but they aren't like trying to run off and crawl away. They'll wiggle, but they don't. And they pop fairly easy in your mouth. Done, over with, not a big deal. But these things, so I cook them in butter. Since I have this regenerative farm, I fix my own butter, my own cheese, and what else? And then my own mealworms, so that I can feed them organically. And I know what I'm working on now, and why I have the vermiculture is to start farming using the biology instead of farming with the synthetic fertilizers, because supposedly there's a whole new level of science out there, and it makes so much sense. I am by trade a beekeeper. I raise the queen bees, sell them online, ship them across the U.S. to make sure that the pollinator circuit has plenty of queens to keep supplied. And I'm sure there isn't a person that's alive that doesn't know that the plant gives off a sugar to attract an insect to do a job for it. Them plants and them sugars, they've got us all. I know y'all love your sugar like as much as I do, I'm sure. Darn it. And so the insect comes in and it pollinates. So we know that our yield goes down if the pollination doesn't happen. And so look at us boosting away at the pollinators so that we can have a lot of what's called pollination going on. Now, there's a whole nother level going on all about those pollinators as well. So you can dig into that. Now I just kind of like to turn this around a little bit. You can see how that frass comes clear to the top. What I think is happening here, because my temperature is at 64 degrees. And that's what, I don't have heaters on these at all. I'm afraid that'll really nuke out the moisture. I'd have a bunch of dead worms. So what they all do when they come and they go underneath this egg crate is they just stay there and turn and turn and turn. And what I notice is when I go in to turn them around, or, you know, all that frass is there. So I think what's happening is, well, they're all there pooping, but they're all there eating all that food. And so when they deplete themselves of their food there, I don't know what'll happen. So I just like to turn them so that they get a lovely new lot of food underneath this. I think they're also creating heat inside that little area, kind of like the honeybees do, and the penguins, how they move one from the inside to the outside. But how they're wiggling, that's creating heat, and that's what the honeybees do too. They create the heat by, you know, moving their muscles. So I'm wondering if maybe these guys don't do the same thing. Whether it's on purpose or not, I don't know. But I can tell you that if I check the temperature, they're where they're at, and they're constantly moving. It is quite a bit warmer there. So, there you go. I will cut this video for now because it's getting quite long. There's a lot of things for you to think about, consider, and maybe go ahead and research for yourself. I don't really trust any information anymore. Kind of just have to go with my environment, what I know in reality, I've seen, tested, proven, and so that's what's led me to doing all of what I do now. Especially with this part, because I know everything matters, from the microbes in the soil to whatever the heck is in the sky. We have to pay attention to it and be mindful of it and understand that every action we take has an extreme reaction in whichever direction that it goes. Equal and opposite action for reaction. So stay tuned. I'm going to continue to go through these bins. I just turn them, pick those beetles out, and then I go take these pupae over to the beetle barn, where I'm getting, for the first time I've ever got this system going all winter long, where it's warm enough that these beetles are laying eggs. And so our population for this summer, instead of letting them start out cold from winter, I'm going to start them out hard in the spring, creating that frass all summer long. Stay tuned. I'll do some videos on that when that time comes. Thanks for all coming back to spend some time at the worm farm here at the Carbon Flip. Worm Farmer Jill, and we are raising worms today.